Never be afraid to ask for a crazy number.
Welcome to the JesseAF show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to my daily podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Grossbohlin and welcome to the JesseAF show. Today is Wednesday, August 21st, 2019, episode 192 of my daily podcast. Yeah, that's right, daily. That means every single day I'll be posting a new episode, so please check in tomorrow for my next episode. I'm on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube, so if you have any of those platforms, please consider subscribing. That way you get notifications for whenever I post a new episode. Don't be afraid to ask for crazy numbers. So, valuing yourself is probably one of the most difficult things that you could ever do. I'm a photographer. I ask for money for my photos. Pretty simple, right? Makes sense. I have value. I believe I have a lot of value, to be honest. But what I do right now is I lowball myself just to get more action. And what I mean by that is I'll ask for $20 an hour to just get action. Because I know a lot of people won't be able to spend, like, let's say $100 an hour. And people are a lot less inclined to spend $100 an hour for a photo shoot. Now, if you think about it, the more I work, the cheaper value, more people will be like, wow, this guy's work is awesome, which makes sense. But you don't always stay with that lowballing number. Eventually, you move up in value. It's like, let's say you go from $20 an hour to $40 an hour. You ask. It's like, hey, would you pay $40 an hour for me to take a photo or to take the photos for you? If they say yes, well, now you're worth $40 an hour. If they don't say yes, and you ask the next person, and the next person, and the next person, and the next person, and the next person, you just keep asking. All these different people are coming to you. If 40 an hour is good for them, and finally someone says yes, and then all of them start saying yes, it's like, well, now you're worth $40 an hour, not $20 an hour, which means you just doubled your rate. I think that would be a really great move. Let's say you go crazy and you're like $50 an hour. It's like, you think about it. Maybe $50 an hour would be more preferred for something as complex as a wedding. That would be a good idea. So maybe rank them on complexity. So let's say a simple photo shoot with a couple would be $20 an hour. Makes sense. Super simple. They're close by, let's say. So you don't have to drive far. They're very close. They're in your backyard, basically. I think that would be not too bad. Sure, it's cheap because photographers in general, professional grade photographers with professional grade gear, charge upwards to $100 an hour. Let's say if they're going $100 an hour rate. Most of the time, they don't charge $100 an hour. They charge flat rates. Let's say $250 for 20 photos. Photoshopped, let's say. That is a professional photographer's rate. I mean, that could be commercial. Yeah, sure, definitely commercial. Most likely commercial. If you think about it in a way of personal, like for people, maybe that would be a little bit much. But depends on who your audience is. Like if you're taking photos of the Kardashians, $250 an hour, let's say, isn't much at all. It's actually really cheap. So let's go into the idea of weddings. Yeah, most wedding photographers charge upwards to $1,000 for their weddings. They have maybe one camera. They charge an extra cost for another camera, like another photographer, and then they keep adding things in. Like, you want a photo album, you want these photos, you want save the dates, you want me to work with you all the way from the beginning of your planning session and going through cake testing and whatever else it is. It can get really expensive. I mean, flowers, whatever. Photographers are a lot like wedding planners. They're supposed to stay with you from the beginning of your wedding planning. They're supposed to be with you when your engagement happens. You know, when you get the ring on your finger, you know, or it's like, will you marry me? You know, that photographer is supposed to stay with you from the beginning. You know, right from the beginning. You should go right back to that photographer every single time you need a photo. Now, I mean, it can get a little complicated because it could get really expensive. Professional photographers, I mean, honestly, they're really expensive. If I was hiring a professional photographer for my business, I'd be probably broke by now because of all the photos I've taken, because of the quality of the photos I've taken. I mean, you know, honestly, value is a perspective, okay? And when you ask a price for someone, it's like, how would they say $20 an hour is good, but maybe I should go $50 an hour. Maybe that'll be good. You know, you can never be a slave to your labor. That's a big one. Never be a slave to your labor. If you desperately need money, it's not going to be easy for you to turn people away with high values. So let's say you really need money and you decide that $100 an hour is your threshold, but you're really looking for pennies right now because you're saving as much as you can save. Now when they're like, $100 an hour is a little bit much, then you're like, oh my god, they don't like it. $20 an hour. Where did that come from? And then they get the sense of you being needy. And it's like, why'd they jump all the way from $100 to $20? I mean, do they value themselves at all? You know, should I even trust this photographer? Because are they actually good? There are so many questions that clients have in their minds when you throw a number out there. And when you say one number, you have to stick with that number, even if they say no. Even if they say no. Because guess what? It shows them that you know your own value and you're comfortable with your own value. It means that you've done this before, you've done it a lot, and you're interested in that value because that's what you can get from everyone else. It makes sense. If you start throwing around numbers like nobody's business, they won't trust you. They won't know how much you actually know. They'll think you're a newbie, you know, someone that doesn't even know what they're doing. And they're not going to trust you to do their photos. They want someone that's confident. They want someone that knows what they're doing. They want someone that's experienced, that has been doing it for a while. So don't be afraid when you ask for a high number and they say no. Don't. Just don't be afraid. Do it. Just do it. This is probably some of the best experience that I've ever had. You know, just getting people to say yes to me for my value. You know, I mean, $20 an hour is really, really cheap for the kind of value that I bring, because I do have a really expensive camera. I do have really expensive lens, but at the same time, I have real skill in the craft. I know what I'm doing when I take the photos. I know what it looks like in my head, and I know how to get there. I know how to achieve those photos when I'm actually taking them. And I've had people that said, you should have charged me more. I would have spent more for these kinds of photos. I was so not expecting these photos to look this great. But when they came out like this, I was stunned. I was like, here, take more of my money. I thought it was awesome, to be honest. You know, to be able to have someone say, I'm going to pay you even more because you were so good. And it feels really awesome when you have that. It really honestly does. But what you have to take away from that is, yeah, you are valuable. But at the same time, you can't get cocky. You can't be like, yeah, I'm amazing. You have to look at it and you have to be like, okay, that's one person's perspective. I could be terrible to some other person. I could be terrible to 100 other people. Who knows? Art is all about perspective. If you are an artist, you should know this. One person might love it, one person might hate it. That's just life. That's life of an artist, you know? I mean, honestly. Now, if you're talking to other artists, they're going to tell you what they love and what they hate about it, types of processes you went through to do what you did, and how they think you could improve it. Artists tend to give you a little bit more value than clients, because generally clients don't know how to do with it, and they really are like, whoa, what are you doing? You know, this is amazing. And clients look at it in a different perspective than an artist would. So, in general, when you charge consistently. And when you charge, maybe start low, but then work your way up. Gary Vee always says, your value is based on the market. Your value is based on market. If you believe you're $100 an hour and the market doesn't believe it, you're not $100 an hour. That could be the market that you're trying to sell to. And maybe you should try a different market, like a maybe more rich market, maybe a more commercial market. You could probably get the value out of that. But for the market that you're going into, they expect a certain value, they expect a certain price. And you're not going to move much from that. You won't. Because people expect certain value, and they don't want to pay crazy amounts of money for a photo. Because honestly, my phone right here, it can take really good photos. I mean, it's very competitive versus my DSLR. Sure, my DSLR has a lot more depth to it. I can get a lot more rich photos. I mean, my photos from my camera, they can go up to like 5,000 by 5,000 pixels. You know, like, that's a lot of pixels. I take photo raw, and that means I pull as much from the camera as I can. I really I really hammer my camera. And when it comes to Photoshop, I hammer Photoshop. I go in depth with my editing. There's a little fuzz. I go really in depth. So it's all perspective. Your value is your perspective. Your value is everyone else's perspective. Don't be afraid to ask. I hope you guys really enjoyed today's episode, and I know I did. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you have a really great day.